versus anyone's legend, it is fearless draft. Anything that a team picks, they cannot pick later in the series. You can pick stuff that the enemy team has later in the series. Now, Sam, you've done a load of LDL. You know
yes,
that.
I have.
But just for you all at home who are getting used to the new format and the new changes coming into LPL, big stuff, and a lot of power picks already away. I think we've seen a lot of Skarner, Tristana, Nidalee, LeBlanc. All of these are just kind of S-tier picks right now.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because obviously Skarner was reworked pre-MSI, has only now started to come on through to professional, like, viability in terms of being allowed to be picked. It has already become a bit of an S-tier pick, as you were saying. And I will be interested to see exactly how the bans change as you go through, particularly to Game 3, because once you've gotten 2 champions played and then the ability to add another 3 bans on top of that, you can do some serious damage to particular roles, particularly if you're looking for things like Nymaera kill lanes. I'm definitely wondering whether we'll start seeing that a little later on in draft. It's always been a fun thing with Fearless. I love the fact that the Karthus ban against Hack has already come out, and I guess maybe it'll be more of those kind of interesting specialist picks, like the Jax that get taken away.
Yeah, I mean, Allah's Jax is absolutely legendary. One of the things which, so before we get through this, one of the reasons why we're seeing stuff like the Karthus being banned is because AP junglers are stupid strong right now with Blackfire Torch, which means you need AD mid laners. Now, Tristana's banned away. The best remaining one is probably the Corki in most situations. I wouldn't be surprised to see Yuka go towards something like a Yone anyway, though. I think Yone can do well into Corki, loses the early lane, but does quite well later, and Yuka's a big player of it. Instead goes towards the Hui. So this is where the flexibility comes in. You don't have to go towards the AP jungle, AP AD mid, and they go towards that mage in the mid lane, meaning that it's likely going to be something like maybe Hacker Sejuani coming out. That'll be a good pick for him as well, to just start things off against these very high damage, but not necessarily most survivable characters that AL have locked in.
Oh yes. And then they'll lock in the Varus, so you've got yourself a lot of range and poke and general burst between everything going on. And of course, does suggest as well that Corki's still going towards the mid lane, despite obviously the big reworks that have come through to Corki. Has it really transitioned over to a change in role as yet on the professional stage?
Yeah.
But they'll lock in on the other side for Ultra Prime, of course.
I think every single game of Corki that we've seen in the LPL, and we've seen it a lot, has been mid lane. And you can see a difference in build. There are, you can normally tell by the runes. If it's Hail of Blades, it's typically Lethality Corki that jumps at you with the, not the flames, but basically Rumbler Corki have a very similar ability there. But the Gatling gun kind of jumps forward at you, goes through all of the auto attacks very quickly, and one-shots you through that. But then if you go towards Fleet Footwork, it can be Trinity Force on the same kind of part of that too. So Ultra Prime pick away that Nautilus. Kalista Nautilus, that is a very high priority bot lane, which they can't use again in this series, by the way. The Nautilus and the Kalista are very, very powerful. It does take away the Nautilus away from the Varus, which is important, and that KL would have been able to combo up very well with Varus. I think we've seen a lot of Varus Nautilus do disgusting things. I think that's a good takeaway. And now we're starting to see how we will round things off. Not a huge amount of tank locked in for either side right now. And I'm wondering whether stuff like Sejuani, even with a lot of ranged characters, can be really, really valuable here, just to lock them down.
I'd love to jump on that point as well that you mentioned about that high prio bot lane, because you're absolutely right. One of the things we saw a lot of, particularly, say, LDL level, which of course is very different to LPL in terms of the consistency of play, if nothing else, was if a team locked in an S-tier, high prio, first pick bot lane, or pick in general, and then failed to execute with it, it put you in such a hole for the rest of the series, because the other team can still play it. You will then force to ban it or deal with it yourself. And so if for whatever reason a team can manage you when you've gotten those picks to your name, it can get very difficult for the rest of the series just to kind of like get the points on the board that you need.
I do love that we've really targeted some of Allah's kind of comfort champions too. He's a big poppy top player, by the way. So is Croco in the jungle. That's actually a very powerful flex for them coming through from Anyone's Legend. Of course, the first time we're seeing Anyone's Legend on the stage, and we get to see how they approach the game with Tabe behind them as well. So top lane has really been hit. What are your blind picks left? You don't have the Sansa, you don't have the Skarner. Instead, they're just saying, look, we don't have enough champions left to blind pick top lane, nor do you really want to give Ala counter pick towards that. So it's going to be Shinsao for Hacker. Now, this is great for him in his early pathing. Hacker is a psycho level, 1 to 4 jungler in the first 5 minutes of the game, first 10 minutes even.
5 to 7 is different.
Something like that, but yeah, really a lot of resources invested to give Qingtian counterpick against Ala in the top lane.
The Leona gets locked in, and it has started to rise in priority a little bit again. A Viego for Croco being hovered. We'll wait a little bit on that, but of course it's a champion he's very content with. And when you've already got a fair amount of burst, I suppose the idea is you throw all of your long-range burst at someone, and then Viego picks up their body so you can start off the fights with the additional member advantage.
Oh, go on, that would be so fun. Xingtian, huge Darius player. One of my favorite moments from early last year was him picking up a triple kill when he was over on Top Esports at that point. We spent a whole series not seeing this. He's hovering it, and he locks it in.
Oh, yeah.
We are starting things off with a large amount of excitement now. Darius for Xingtian. It is a very important game for him to show up against Ala. I think this top lane matchup has now become much more important.
Oh, yes, it has. And of course, considering we're normally saying, look, everyone wants to play around bot lane. It's just the way it's been in professional play for a very long time. When you start adding in some of these more volatile matchups in topside, jungle choices get very interesting, especially if you're wanting to play for grubs on top of that. This gets fun.
And you know, the thing is, one of the big changes in summer, I think, with Camille being really strong right now, with a lot of tanks just being blind picked and being able to be countered, I think we're going to see more stuff like this. I think this is a good approach from Ultra Prime. I think they were aware of Ala's pedigree and his champion pool and saying, look, let's just not give him the counter pick. Let's save it for Xingtian. Put their resources into him and put some belief into their new top laner coming into the team. And I look at both these drafts and I'm like, okay, pick potential in both of these supports. Some individual advantages could get out of hand here in the solo lanes. What happens if Corki gets ahead? What obviously happens whether Darius gets ahead as well? I like the fact that we have a lot of like for like between teams, because what that often means is you get to see the level of the teams on execution. And particularly when we're seeing teams for the first time, like Anyone's Legend on the stage today, it is a great way to get to know how they're starting off in summer.
To the Rift we go. See whether we can time ourselves with the gyros a little more accurately than I saw you and Munch try the other day. That was great.
That's all well and good, Sam. The thing is, to get the gyros on a stream like this, because of course we're utilizing the Chinese live broadcast, we don't actually always get the gyros loud enough in the background anyway. I'd have to like go like pick up the volume and stuff. So we can maybe do the gyros ourselves at some point, but I don't even trust myself to do that one.
We're doing it right now, so it's fine. It's there. We got it, it's fine.
Remember when there was no crowd in LCK and the casters just did all of their fighting themselves? That was great.
Yeah, it was great.
That was wonderful. Good times, good times.
What a wonderful bunch they are. Croco is about to go towards his natural habitat, the river, but unfortunately there's a crocodile hunter and an Nautilus there who lands a phenomenal dredge line to get Hacker that first blood. The Psycho in the jungle gets himself an extra knife to fight with.
Well, Anyone's Legend, we were excited for them. We were excited for Ala coming into the roster, for a team that might just be able to punch above their results of spring, and their first game of summer is a very, very quick and easy first blood on the other side. Ala does a cheeky E over the wall. That's actually kind of nice. Gets the comment on there too. But nonetheless, though, it's still going to be a huge moment for Ultra Prime's jungler to get a very free first blood. They used one ignite. They didn't have to use any flashes. And I guess the ignite kind of changed the laning phase down there. But Hacker being ahead and being able to get a better first back as well when he finally does go back to base could be very important.
Well, precisely that, and you do wonder whether actually we might see something like an early back from the jungle to get that long sword out and available before you finish up your clear. We do sometimes see that from the likes of the Lee Sins and the Xin Zhaos if they're feeling like it, but currently pathing towards the top lane as well, looking to impact likely that top lane on that first
but the thing is, they're going to lose level 2 here in bot lane, and there's no ignite in the 2v2, which they used for that first blood. This is the thing. They've used up the some of the kill pressure of this bot lane, and it means that you're now pathing away from a bot lane that needs to find a way to survive as best it can against, Kyle on Leona. This is an LCK player that had a big history on the Leona. Thinking about it, when I think back to Kyle, I do think occasionally of the picks like this. So see whether Anyone's Legend's bot lane can use this moment while the ignite is still down, so again use that control to make sure that Anyone's Legend have leverage on the bot side.
Be interested to track that matchup a little bit as well, because Kyle was kind of where Niket was a couple years ago, or rather the other way around. Was Niket having just come up from outsiders? When I talk about the bot lane, Xingtian very low, has burned the Ghost. Ignite read by Arlo, gets a big chunk onto the Darius, forced to back away. Both junglers are mirroring that matchup towards top side. That ward that was dropped on the blue buff meant that who was hoping to get here and start fighting. It's not going to happen.
The thing is, Xingtian has used the Ghost and, of course, doesn't have Teleport. Ala, on the other side, very happy to force his opposing number out of lane and to just kind of get control of this top lane matchup with that Ignite.
He's got the wave in a bit of a difficult spot as well, so Hacker will be around, but I think it will be there to potentially help push the wave in. Top side Scuttle Crab claimed by Croco, and of course now that the mist is going down, Hacker will have an idea that the Viego is around. Xingqian will be forced to come back and try and shove this one out, as risky as it is, but fortunately he has his jungler there.
He does, and we'll see whether Ala can get a good trade as he tries to force in that wave, and does get himself a little bit of tick damage down there, but of course, now we have to see when Ala can get back to base and start using, get himself that first kind of item breakpoint of the game, which can maybe snowball top lane. I think top lane is probably one of the most important. Okay, the recall's going to get completed, so we can talk about this. Basically, when you get to go back to base for the first point of the game is maybe the most important time of the game for individual melee versus melee matchups like this. Good E through the wave there as well, because when Xingqian went back for the first time, he needs to be so careful here, man.
So much danger.
He had maybe 10 CS, and he is down combat stats even with this. Ala's just going in and he kills him.
Just gone. Just stepped to oblivion. Xingqian can't bother to burn the flash because Ale just follows. And it's flame roasted Darius in the top lane.
Oh, and Xingqian picks up his Darius, and he is schooled by Ala. New top laner for anyone's legend. We were excited to see what this guy could do, even on the EDG Doom squad. This guy had some fantastic games, and he's showing exactly why this guy has to be respected. Huge, huge moment. And it feels like Ala, with the Ignite, getting that first back, forcing Xingqian into a bad wave state, has absolutely destroyed the top side of the map for the first few minutes of the game.
It's a huge moment. All the while, yeah, you'll be losing a dragon on the bot side, but Croco is a full clear ahead, basically. A bit of a time off. In fact, you can see Hacker backs off the dragon to keep up with the clear, knowing he was spotted on that control ward, and they just have to kind of deal with the fact that top lane's going a bit awry, and bot lane hasn't been able to put down as much pressure as they might have liked, because of course they burned the Ignite to get that first blood, and it is Hacker who's supposed to be the one making things happen, and that's not really happened so far because of just laning advantages.
And then look at this again.
Continue.
One of the nastiest things about Rumble is that he can do so much damage to you without ever taking minion aggro, because he's using his E and his Q, and against the Darius you don't really want to be auto-attacking him that much anyway. So Ala hits level 6, has a full HP advantage. He walked beyond the wave to chunk out Xingqian, and he cannot fix the wave. Hacker didn't manage to get up here in time to secure Xingqian, the early wave control, which Ala had kind of like taken away from him. And now Ultra Prime have a big issue on the top side of the map, even with the far 5 counterpick. And here's the all-in on the bot side, not going to lead to that much, but really have to see now from Ultra Prime, how do they recover around a matchup that needs to be ahead?
Your guy needs to be a bit careful here, because Shanks just hops on forwards, gets a lot of damage down. That's just a Phage in infantry, basically, and Yurkai's HP bar suffering for it. Dragon is on screen, but anyone's legend looking to contest, especially with the mid laner chunked out.
Now with the dragon being taken low, AL are getting close to this. Crocker's not in range for the smite, and he won't get it. Where's the fight, though?
Big chunk onto Kyle, who's taken very low. Shanks goes forward. It's a 1 for none at the minute, and then Croco with the body stolen. Just doing so much damage. Top side we go. Xingqian's got Ale very low, but flashing away will not die because Xingqian doesn't have level 6 still.
Oh, it doesn't have the level 6. Does force out the flash from Ala, but Xingqian on the Darius at least trying to claim something back. I feel like it's too little too late, though. It's still not going to be able to stop Ala from getting any of this XP and gold towards topside. How did this happen? Ah, this was the pot popped from Ala looking for an all-in, but I think Xingqian just shows him, yes, you spaced really well that last time. If I ever get to auto-attack you, things still go badly, though. Very nearly kills him with that last Q. Close run stuff. Xingqian trying to recover this lane on his own.
Imagine if he had got the Noxian Guillotine. Doesn't. Still down a level and a half, so still a bit rough, but a little bit of vengeance back is nice, and they did get 2 kills towards that dragon fight. As Kyle is on vision. Shouldn't be too much of a threat towards Xingqian.
Not just yet. Hang on a second. You see this, Xingqian, buddy. What you doing here? He has no help on the horizon. He's flashed over the wall.
Oh, Xingqian, you've done this to yourself, my friend. You could have completed that back, and now you're in a 1v2. Gonna try and get the stun down with the Shield of Daybreak into his Zenith Blade, into Ala picking up the kill. That one was some poor decision making, I'm not gonna lie.
And that is Kyle on his most played champion across his career, and he's been around for a while, folks, showing exactly what he can do on the roam with Leona. I genuinely think Leona being back for the LPL, and now Kyle, he is one of us now, he's part of the LPL, has been such a big thing for so many of our supports, and Kyle, even though he comes from the LCK, similar style of player when it comes to that, being on the roam after having a strong laning performance, has given the top lane even more gold to play with, and that is exactly what Ultra Prime wanted to avoid. And now, again, you have to start asking questions about, well, what tools do you have to get back into this game? Well, you lost early grubs, you did get that first dragon. If they can get a second dragon, maybe they can have some macro options to ignore third and fourth dragon to get some extra gold to get back into the game. But getting that second dragon isn't going to be easy in the first place. We need to see them have an interesting angle to stop AL from using this early gold they have to just brutalize them in fights.
There's still no summoners up on Xingtian, who's died twice, and Croco's coming up with double buffs. This could get spicy yet.
Oh,
Xingtian
dear.
on the wrong end of an equalizer. There's a ward in the bush already, and that means there's just nowhere to go. Another Blade of the Ruined King does the damage required, and Croco picks that one up, donated quite happily over to the Viego. Bot lane, Niket trying to interrupt the back with the Titan's Wrath. Won't need to be doing any more, and we've not really looked at bot lane at all, because it's not been where the action has been happening, and honestly, not really much to talk about there either.
Yeah, I think particularly in the top side, what we have noticed from the first 10 minutes of the game is Xingtian as the new top laner for Ultra Prime is not quite on the same page as Hacker when it comes to waves crashing in and his jungler being there to fix the wave if it is in a bad position. I think that Arla's done a great job to punish Xingtian in terms of the early level and the early wave control in a way that only really Arla can. It feels like this guy is so good in the top lane. He's been, you know, kind of... stock on an EDG roster, which he was being subbed in and out of an EDG roster, but it felt like that was a huge mistake from that team. But he's just done all of his own stunts, and he's required Hacker to be in his lane to stop Xingtian from falling behind. And when he hasn't been there, he's absolutely slaughtered Xingtian's Darius.
And I think we do see, we've got a little bit of time here. One of the things we see about elite teams or elite regions in top lane is often, say in the West, sometimes we kind of put top lane as an afterthought.
Ooh,
leave them to tanks and
the
teleport plays. But when you start to get leads like this on players who can just really warp the map, suddenly you end up with a pressure point that's so unmanageable. The map becomes so difficult to play, and a player like Arla, who is really, really elite when he is given the time of day, now has himself that component towards a burn item, has got 3 stacks on the Dark Seal, the boots as well. This Rumble is going to be a nightmare. You've gotten 2 kills on the Viego as well. It's got the Kraken Slayer, which feels very nice on Viego at the minute. And you're feeling just great.
Yeah, you're feeling so good. Do want to quickly shout out Pivotless and Shad as well, who is a top lane main that both you and I know. And has been talking a little bit about this matchup, which is like, well, you know, once you go for Merc Treads on Darius, yeah, that's kind of the end of it, really. Because Darius really does, it rightfully points out the fact that the swiftness boots are really important for this guy to run people down, especially in a matchup like this. Arla comes out of the bush, 2-level advantage, trying to space him out.
Few misses, and that's Xingtian down to about half HP, and down 2 levels still. It's so difficult to make this work, and now with that summoner disadvantage, being forced once again under the turret.
Once again, you just see anyone's legend being able to just leave Arla to his own devices. The danger point in the game is over on the top side of the map. Now, Arla could still give over a shutdown and maybe some side lane pressure, but I think it's so hard to enter top side of the map with the way that AL have been playing. Now, we did say Ultra Prime maybe have some options if they take that second dragon. They are aiming towards it, and Arla's going for the dive.
Got the Ignite down. He flashes away, gets an Oxygen Guillotine, flash for flash. One more E would do it. There's the Flame Spinner in the E. Can't quite the kill. Oh my days, Arla, that's a lot of turret shots. Gets away with it just about. Can't quite secure the kill. Dragon off the other side goes down to Ultra Prime. Arla can't quite drink Xingtian under the table. Bot lane, there's a monster play happening on the Doggo, who's put down in the bot lane. They'll make it a 1-for-1 right now, but everyone else is coming over. What is going on? Kyle in danger position. A Valkyrie over the wall, but it will not be going to Valhalla quite yet.
Oh my word, AL, they leave their top laner to their own devices and they slam through on the bot side as well. Ultra Prime do get that second dragon though, and that might change things for them. We do need to keep an eye on that because now we're onto the Infernal Rift. Of course, very valuable to get that soul, but if you can give up a dragon or two because you've taken the first two, you can then maybe get some gold back. And God, they need some extra gold, because it feels like they're just getting slaughtered in every one of these early game fights. Feels like AL, I think particularly Kyle, has been there at the play earlier than Ultra Prime can respond. Even though Hacker did get that very easy first blood, just hasn't really had the impact we needed to see from him at the right time.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And unfortunately, you got the first blood. You should have had the first kind of impact. That's not really happened. Bot lane was a bit of a nothing burger. Top side, well, for a longest time, Chinta was stuck at 45 CS. It's only until that failed dive that he's managed to pick up another wave. He's going to burn down here as well. Gets a bit of healing back, but it's just too far behind. Again, he dies. 2,500 gold lead individually in the top lane, and that's before the turret falls, which it surely will for first brick.
It's just,
oh my god,
it's just another time where AL are just there quicker and no one is covering Xingqian. Now, I think at this point it's very hard to do so, but the entire game has been Ultra Prime being second to the punch, and in matchups where they can't afford to be. And now Ultra Prime have to really start thinking, maybe at this point, about game 2. I don't say that lightly. It is 14 minutes into the game, which is not that long, but with the way that AL have been playing out this game so far, with a composition that can play around Leona Rumble later into the game, where you can just ping an ult onto someone on the backline, and they immediately die to Corki and Rumble's follow-up damage, maybe even giving resets over to Croco and the Viego as well. I find it very hard to see how Ultra Prime can evenly fight their way back into this. I think this can be a very difficult game for them to play out. They might be able to get some high damage turnarounds. It's not like AL have the tankiest team ever, but as it stands, they have not been given any openings to do so.
And I think it's worth calling out again that this is something you called out and drafted, something I've known from the Fearless draft as well. When you pick such evergreen, fantastic early round picks like Nautilus, Kalista, Shinzao, and then fail to execute with them in your game one, it can be really nasty because you don't have those champions available to you for the rest of the series. And on the other side, anyone session can threat them at any point, really, unless you're willing to ban them. The drafting gets very difficult from this point.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we really called out, particularly towards this bottom lane. Just saying, like, look, this bot lane are premier S+ tier picks, which are getting banned away in most of the other series in the LPL. You need to be able to use them well. They've not really been able to do much through that laning phase. They haven't really been able to unlock themselves. I don't think it's their fault. It's just the game falling apart. They won't have them later. With the Herald coming through, AL get even more golden pocket. And there's the equalizer again, just chunking them down, allowing them to push in further towards the inner turret. They do have those 4 grubs for the mites, and they take the grand majority of the inner turret HP.
25% of the turret remains, about a third of Doggo's HP remains. And that's just with the equalizer tagging him for about a second and a half, if that. But that's a Leandries and a needlessly large rod on a Rumble that is, after that turret kill, 3,000 gold ahead. That Rumble is just obscenely strong. Wherever Allah is, no one else can be.
So, Ultra Prime, now they have to play the game of defend your jungle camps because you've lost your outer turrets now. Mostly, you haven't lost that bot lane outer turret, but I would imagine that's going to be soon to fall after this point. I think it's going to be really difficult for them to deal with the problems of having a Flash Leona being able to engage with ults over walls, having the Valkyrie following it, having Croco being able to ult into plays too, and of course the equalizer. The follow-up damage from AL can come in from absolutely miles away, it feels like. So, yeah, of course, didn't even mention the Poke Pharos. Yeah, he can throw an arrow over the wall too. Cool. They're all joining in on the fun. And that's not particularly good news for Ultra Prime, believe it or not. They need to be very careful not to give AL options over walls out of Fog of War.
And the problem is, you get that first kill, it sets up for the Viego to reset as well, because Croco is pretty strong as well, frankly. The fact that he is got a few kills to his name, is kept very happily up in the farm. You give over something like a Nautilus or a Shinzao to continue the snowball forwards, and especially considering they're likely to be the first kills, get very difficult to manage. Hacker tries to jump onto Ale, flashes away, but the 3,000 strike doesn't work out that well. There comes down the crescent gun. But Ale just burns him to the ground! Lord Almighty, the damage is foul. They'll finally get the return kill as the CC comes on through, and Nika will help Doggo pick that one up. So at least there is a 1-for-1, but that was supposed to be Ultra Prime pulling the trigger, and going 1-for-1 there while the rest of the map is attacked is not great news.
No, it is not. At least, Ultra Prime get themselves that one kill towards that bot side. They get some gold. Is that an objective bounty? It's not even an objective bounty. That's sad for them. I thought even they might be getting towards that at this point. But this is kind of what we're saying. Every time Ultra Prime jump forwards now, it feels like there is a pocket for AL to have been stood in, which Ultra Prime can't clear out at this point in the game. We're getting through towards second items now, coming in slowly but surely. And here's what happened again in the bot lane. Now, Rumble isn't the tankiest person. This is probably the target you do want to be hitting, but he does so much damage that if you ever get locked up in front of him, like Kyle does in this case, it is very, very hard to survive on the other side. Luckily, they do pick one off of that Leona, but all the same, they bit off a bit more than they could chew with the Rumble.
And credit to Niket and the rest of the crew for coming in and getting something back. And in fairness, it probably has had a pretty okay Nautilus game, if I do say so myself. You know, they've dealt with that bot lane pick-off attempt onto Doggo earlier on when they went 1-for-1, started up the first blood. You know, credit over to the rookie for being a valid part of what Ultra Prime have found this game. Is just so very limited, and now these roams happen.
We're not even doing like the LDL propaganda saying, yeah, LDL, great, we love this guy. It's like, he's the one person who hasn't died this game, folks.
Yeah,
like, for Ultra Prime. Like, it's not. He's unkilled on Nautilus as like the one guy on his team that hasn't died. I mean, at this point, it's a bit of a justice for Niket. Get this guy a top lane that can wave manage for the first side. I'm being a bit harsh at that point. I feel like it's a bit hard to judge a top side when they are up against the likes of Allah on this kind of game. Kyle going forwards doesn't have to flash now. They might be able to burn him down, but that's an equalizer.
Dual equalizer on the corridor hurts so much. The Rumble barbecue continues to be so very difficult to manage. Kyle's HP bar low, but the severing bolt just wide means we'll survive to live another day. Everyone comes out alive, but health bars which across the board, not in a particularly healthy spot.
I don't know. I feel like we should call, like, you know, Papa Smithy and, like, Atlas, maybe Hysterics, because I feel like this was just, like, the Australian culture of, like, throwing them on the Barbie at that point. Ultra Prime, they were absolutely not prepared to bring their own beverages there, and they are dunked in it themselves. That equalizer, again, showcasing exactly how bad it is for Ultra Prime to engage and having any number of players on Anyone's Legend within like half a map's distance of them ready to respond.
I mean, I've got to call it out as well, though, Alex. You know, it's winter over in Australia right now, so it's the wrong time of year for barbecues, and yet Anyone's Legend have decided that they don't need any of that, you know, seasonal problems and just come along and murder the top laner again.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, it feels like Croco is taking up the moniker of the Night King if winter is coming, and he raises one of those dead bodies of Qing Tian to go towards that Baron itself. And it feels like Ultra Prime, they're going to have to throw themselves against the wall. Their watch might have been ended.
Might well have been. We'll see whether they can hold on a little bit here. But Valyrian Steel just not in attendance. Not enough damage, not enough items. Certainly not enough health bars as the cat desperately tries to run away. The only unkilled member of Ultra Prime finally gets out alive still. Still status here of death. And Yukai gets Kyle on the way out.
Sam, what is dead may never die. Niket keeping his unkilled record somehow amongst this. But Ultra Prime, yeah, it feels like they're entering the long, long night in Game 1. It has been a topside snowball for the ages from Allah. And again, the more we mention this guy, just have to keep praising him. Allah is such a high pedigree top laner within the LPL, and we're seeing exactly what he can do on picks like this. You know, this is with the Avaris ult missing as well in this place, but they still have Leona. They still have huge ability to go right inside the Thunderdome of the Shinstao and end his life. It's so easy for them to, at this point, shrug off the little damage of Ultra Prime are throwing at them and get themselves these big snowbally team fights.
Credit to Yukai for sniping one at the end to get something back, but that is a paltry recompense, really, compared to the game state as it stands. This Rumble, as you were saying, is near enough unmanageable. Now he's got the Zonyas as well to make picking them off that much harder. Has got the 8 stacks on the Dark Seal as well. Is getting pretty close to opening that library in, what's Legend's name, towards the bot lane tier 2 we go. Croco finds Doggo, takes the Edge of Night off as well, because of course, why wouldn't you? Now the siege continues.
And it feels like there is one last fight. See if they can find them on an open field, Ned.
It's just not to be found. The Dothraki hordes of Anyone's Legends go charging forwards and rampage their way to a kill onto Hwei.
They do at Ultra Prime. They have just not been able to recover. I mean, we said it once in the early game, probably would have done us for the rest of the cast. Oh dear, top lane's out of control. The rest of the composition follows up so well, and now they're going into the inhibits turrets.
The Rumble is continuing to breathe Dragonfire, and the house of a few dragons is beginning to burn down what remains of Ultra Prime's base. There's 2 dead. There's a wave in the base. I don't know how much longer Ultra Prime can dare to hold on.
They're teleporting back with Shanks. Picks up a fire cannon to add insult to injury as well. So powerful, and the Corki hasn't even really been the main character. He hasn't needed to be. Respawn's coming through from Ultra Prime. Can they turn something back? Here comes Qingtian.
Flash for the apprehend, but can't get the kill! And Shanks just unleashes! Well, you should know better than that, Ultra Prime. In the game of League of Legends, you win! Or in game 1, they die!
Ultra Prime have been thoroughly schooled by anyone's legend first foray onto the Rift for summer. We had questions about how good could this team be with Arla coming in, one of the best top laners in the league. The answer in game 1 here has been pretty convincing that they are putting their best front foot forward. And it feels like if they can continue on with this, the ability to take individual mistakes from the early game and snowball into the win, that is a very good sign for them. Anyone's legend. Great stuff from them. Basically, no notes from me. Really cleanly played out.
And you've just got to shout it out. Arla there was so good. He wins the individual